How's it going, everybody? So we're back again with another ranking video today since I just got out of seeing Aquaman, so that means time for a ranking of all 6 DCEU films up to this point. The DCEU is kind of a rocky road for me because I've tried for so many years to just really enjoy it at the same level as MCU. There are some surefire movies in that DCEU franchise that I actually do really enjoy, and there's some I don't really enjoy as much, but overall, I think they're getting their act together and they're actually putting out somewhat solid films now. But before I dive into my ranking for the DCEU, leave a comment below how you'd rank the films in the DCEU. Even if you haven't seen Aquaman yet, I mean, of course, if you have seen Aquaman, definitely add it into your list. But either way, leave a comment how you'd rank them. I love to get a discussion going about all the different DCEU films. But without further ado, let's get right into my ranking. Coming in at number 6, I have Suicide Squad. Now, this film is definitely my least favorite of the DCEU. I felt like it's a very uninspired, very uninteresting plot. I mean, the Enchantress, Cara Delevingne, I felt was very miscast. I mean, she was a pretty bad villain in my opinion. But there are some highlights to this film. I do like Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, Deadshot, played by Will Smith. Even Harley Quinn is not that bad either. But other than those characters, most of them are really just bland, generic, and they're kind of just in the background for the most part. Plus, every so often, you got the Joker, played by Jared Leto, popping in and out, and his scenes are not, like, horrible, but they're not really that entertaining either. Apparently, they did shoot a lot more of him, but I don't know if I really would have enjoyed it any more than the little glimpses we did get of him in this movie. I mean, the whole portrayal I just wasn't that big of a fan of, but I mean, there's a few okay action scenes, and like I said, you know, Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and all them are standout performances in this, but I think this is definitely my least favorite and the least rewatchable DCEU film so far. Coming in at number 5, I have Justice League. Now, the road to this film kind of was a rocky one, but the result was okay. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't horrible, in my opinion, but it's just so inconsistent in so many ways, as if, you know, multiple people directed it because they did, because Joss Whedon took over for Zack Snyder. And I don't know how much is Joss Whedon, how much is Zack Snyder, but the tone for this film is just very inconsistent. Sometimes it's jokey, sometimes it tries to be serious, and nothing in this movie really mixes very well. You can definitely tell that there was some meddling here and there. And, I mean, there is some good parts. Because, of course, Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck do really great jobs once again as Wonder Woman and Batman. But the rest of the team, I'm not so sure about. Because, I mean, I actually don't mind Jason Momoa. I feel like he didn't get too much in this film. But Ray Fisher, I just wasn't too big on with Cyborg, really. I mean, we don't really latch on to him too much. Or really wasn't into a lot of the jokey humor that Ezra Miller was doing as Barry Allen. And the villain itself, the Selfless movie, Steppenwolf, there's really not much to latch onto him at all as the main antagonist. There's really not much of a build-up to him, really. I mean, there's not a lot of build-up to a lot of these films, but like he's just like a big CGI mess, and the CGI isn't really that great with him. And most of the CGI in this film, you know, it's not really not that great, except for Cyborg CGI is probably the best. But obviously, other than that, you know, like as many people know, the CGI mustache on Superman and Steppenwolf CGI, and all that's not that spectacular. Overall, this is a very disappointing film, but there are some aspects that you can enjoy in it. Coming in at number 4, I have Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now, like most people, I was really looking forward to this film. You know, it's Batman versus Superman on the big screen. But I feel like they kind of tried to cram just a little bit too much into this film to try and speed up their whole universe they were building. Because this is only film 2 in the DCEU. And you obviously got Batman and Superman. Obviously, Superman had Man of Steel. But this is the introduction to Batman. They also got the introduction to Wonder Woman, The Flash, Cyborg, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and Doomsday. So there's a lot of things that they kind of just tried to throw into this movie, and I feel like it kind of suffered for that. And, you know, of course, the ultimate cut of this film does make it a little bit better, but there still has some issues. But as far as introductions go to the DCEU, I thought they did a really great job casting Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and Ben Affleck as Batman. I thought both of them did a solid job. I'm really not a big hater on Ben Affleck as Batman. I thought he did a really great job, not as just Batman, but as Bruce Wayne, which I think a lot of people forget about. That is an aspect that you need to care about with, you know, you need to be a good Bruce Wayne and a good Batman. I think he did a really good job as both in this, and I really want to see him more in the role, even though who knows where the future of that goes. But moving back on to this film, at least, I mean, he had some of my favorite scenes, actually. He kind of stole the spotlight in some ways, because, like, that scene in the warehouse, I mean, it was something ripped right out of, like, an Arkham game. And not only that, but, like, I mean, that battle scene with Batman and Superman was pretty exciting, even though it didn't last too long, and it was a little melodramatic at points when they actually get to that point. But I really enjoyed it, and I really don't think that the battle at the end was needed to have Doomsday in it. I thought that was kind of a weird throw-in. But nevertheless, I mean, it's a disjointed kind of story, and they just tried to cram in too much. Like, the ultimate cut of this film, I think, clocks in about like 3 hours long, so it's a very long watch if you watch the ultimate cut. I even thought Henry Cavill did a really great job improving on his performance from Man of Steel as Superman, but I mean, of course, everybody knows how much everybody doesn't like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I think of anybody in this whole DCEU, I think he's the most miscast as Lex Luthor, because he's just so overly eccentric and annoying for no reason. And I really am not looking forward to him in future installments unless he can kind of improve in whatever films they put him in the future. But right now, I'm not a really big fan of Lex Luthor in the DCEU. Coming in at number 3, I have Man of Steel. Now, I'm really not that huge of a Superman fan, even though I have seen all of the films, but I really liked Man of Steel for the most part. I thought Henry Cavill did a really great job stepping into the role of Superman, kind of making it his own with his dark, gritty kind of edge. You know, obviously he's not like Brandon Routh or Christopher Reeves. He's his own character. And not only that, but they assembled a really great cast around him, because you got Michael Shannon as Zod. You also got Amy Adams as Lois Lane, and Kevin Costner's his dad, and then obviously Russell Crowe's his real dad, and many more characters. I could ramble off for a while, but it's a really great story. It was actually a really interesting origin story for Superman that I don't think I'd ever enjoyed as much in the other films, but I really liked this film for that reason, that it just kind of explored it in a really interesting way. It's definitely, I think, the strongest Zack Snyder DCEU film. And even though he could be a little overly eccentric in the film, I actually thought Zod was actually a very formidable foe for Superman. I mean, he actually was very fleshed out. You could understand his motivations for why he was doing what he was doing in the film, and Michael Shannon just killed it in the role, and I actually kind of was like enjoying myself watching him in Superman. Like I said, I'm not a big Superman fan, so it was weird for me to actually really enjoy this. Not only that, but the action scenes in this are great, even though they pretty much destroyed like the entire city, which I'm sure dozens of people have talked about in the past, but they just destroyed that freaking city in Man of Steel. It was insane, but it was still a blast to watch. I mean, but I really enjoy. It's probably one of my favorite Superman films in general. Of course, I probably would put the Christopher Reeves ones, at least the first two, over this one, but it's still a very solid Superman film. Coming in at number 2, I have Aquaman. Now, this is finally our first solo outing for the character after we got brief glimpses of him in Batman v Superman and Justice League, so I thought this really held up. This is a really fun, entertaining film. Now, it's not the best film by any means, because there is some really cheesy dialogue, and the screenplay's not the greatest, and the CGI sometimes is a little bit hit or miss, but I had a blast watching this film. Jason Momoa is just so charismatic. It's almost like he was meant to be Aquaman. It's just like the perfect representation of the character on screen. He's a blast. You know, the action scenes with him were awesome. Especially all those underwater scenes, kind of world building Atlantis and all that. That was just beautiful. It was like something you'd see out of like an underwater Lord of the Rings or an underwater Blade Runner or The Fifth Element. Everything down there was just so interesting, and I really liked the world building aspect of this film, just because it was so vibrant in colors and different animals and different crazy stuff down there. But not only that, but also Amber Heard was great as Mara in this. She was a total badass. Like, she wasn't like a damsel in distress kind of character. She was just a strong, awesome character. She never really needed any type of rescuing. She was kicking ass with Jason Momoa side by side for the most part every time they were on screen. Now, Ocean Master, played by Patrick Wilson, he was a little bit too eccentric sometimes, but overall, I think he was probably my second favorite villain in the entire DCEU, just because he was very fleshed out, and you know why he was there, you know, his motivations for why he was being bad, and Patrick Wilson's just a really great actor. But not only that, but Black Manta's in this for parts of it, and he is freaking cool. Like, if you look at the design of that character and you think, how the heck they're going to do that in live action and make it look somewhat not ridiculous? I mean, of course they keep the cool design, but he's awesome. I mean, he doesn't get too much screen time, unfortunately, but when he is on screen, he makes up for it. Like, sometimes he kind of steals the show, in my opinion. I actually want to see more of him in the future. Hopefully it happens, but we'll see. But overall, I had a blast watching this. It's not the most perfect comic book movie of the year or anything. There are still better comic book movies that came out in this year, but I still really enjoyed Aquaman. It's a blast. And coming in at number 1 is Wonder Woman. After so many kind of lackluster or disappointing films in the DCEU, it was really great to get an awesome solo film. Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins kind of just revitalized and kind of saved the DCEU with this film because of just how great it really was. I mean, Gal Gadot finally gets to step out of the small role she was in Batman v Superman, get a leading role, and she really makes the most of the character. She really much is like the embodiment of Wonder Woman in this, because she's strong, powerful. She's just like the perfect person to be Wonder Woman in this film, and she's like, it's a fish out of water story. I mean, that's not like the most unheard of story, but it's just such an entertaining watch in the time period it's in. Of course, Chris Pine is great as Steve Trevor. He's just so charismatic, and he has great chemistry with Gal Gadot, so it's just a very nice change of pace from the other dark, gritty films we've gotten in the DCEU to have this kind of fun chemistry. And the story is really simple in this. It really is just Wonder Woman's gonna go to London to kill Ares and apparently save the world. And I'm not a big fan of Ares in this. Like, the character itself is cool, but in this interpretation, I thought it was kind of like one of the few negatives I had for this, even when I said it in my review back when this movie came out. It's just like the character of Ares, the CGI and all that, and the character design just really failed, in my opinion. It just didn't look, it just looked kind of bad because it was really bad CGI, and I really wish that they had just touched it up a little bit more, and just, that was like the one big negative, and that's like the big end battle for the movie. But other than that, I mean, I thought it was a really great film. I had a really fun time watching this, and I actually probably rewatched this the most out of every DCU film. And hopefully they keep the magic going with Wonder Woman 1984, even though I'm kind of looking forward to Shazam more, but I'm biased because I love Zachary Levi. So yeah, that was my ranking for the DCEU. Like I said before, leave a comment below how you'd rank the films. Even if you haven't seen Aquaman, I'd like to get a discussion going talking about all the films in the DCEU and what you thought of them. It's really fun to talk about these films, so I definitely appreciate you, doing that. But also, if you really enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, keep up to date with all my movie reviews, rankings, trailer reactions, unboxings, and more. But until the next time, I'll see you guys later.